Hi guys, it's Mrs. Glenn. This is the 2.5 Solving Inequalities video. So let's get started with a few symbols to go over first. So when you're using parentheses, that means that the answer is not included, so you're going to use an open circle. So when you're looking at a graph and you see a line that looks like this, that has an open circle, that means that you would use parentheses to answer that question. And then for the brackets, if you had a closed circle at the end of the line and a closed circle, you would use brackets around that answer. So brackets means that the answer is included, and you would use a filled in circle. Parentheses means that it's not included, so you use an open circle. So you're going to use parentheses with infinity or negative infinity as well. Then you've got a couple other symbols that you'll probably recognize. First one is less than, then less than or equal to, greater than, and greater than or equal to. So this less than you can see is kind of like a tipped L. So if you take this L and you kind of tip it a little bit, it looks like a less than sign. So that's why you can remember that L is the less than, that's the tipped hand side one. And then the other way to remember if it's less than or equal to and filled in circle, if you think about it, when you're making a circle, that's one step, and then when you fill it in, that's two steps. So if you think about making that symbol, if you make a less than sign, that's one step, and making the equal to underneath, that's two steps. So the filled in circle goes with the equal to. So this would be filled in, this would be an open circle, this would be an open circle, and this would be a filled in circle. If you multiply or divide by a negative, you need to flip the inequality sign. So for example, if you had negative 3x equals 12, and you divide by negative 3, is less than or equal to 12. When you divide by negative 3, you need to flip that sign to a greater than or equal to, and just solve it like normal. So if you divide by a negative and it's an inequality, you have to flip the sign. All right, so we're going to solve graph and write the solution to the inequality in interval notation. So first thing we need to do is distribute that 4 into everything. So we have 4 times the x, giving us 4x. 4 times the 3 gives us 12. And then we copy down everything else. Then we're going to subtract 12 on both sides, giving us 4x is greater than negative 36. Then divide by 4. Divide by 4, we're dividing by a positive, so we don't need to switch the sign. So this gives us negative 9. So we have x is greater than negative 9. So on your number line, you're not going to want to start at 0 because we don't have that many points on the line. So we can probably have like negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4. So above negative 9, we're going to put an open circle because it's just a greater than sign. And we're going to shade to the right because it's greater than negative 9. So interval notation, we're going to put starting at negative 9. So we have an open circle. So it's going to be a bracket, negative 9, and then comma, and it goes on forever in the positive direction. So we're going to use positive infinity. And we use a parentheses when it has an open circle. Solve graph and write the next one. So again, we're going to distribute negative 3 into x, going negative 3x, negative 3 into positive 2, giving us negative 6. Drop down the x, draw our line, drop down the 4. These two can combine. We've got 1x minus 3x gives us negative 2x, minus 6, greater than 4. Add 6 to both sides, giving us negative 2x is greater than 10. We're dividing by a negative to give our x by itself, which means we have to flip the sign. So it goes from a greater than to a less than symbol. And 10 divided by negative 2 is a negative 5. So again, over here we have to look at how many lines we have. So I would put negative 5 here, making this negative 6, negative 7, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. So again, above negative 5, it's an open circle because we just have a less than sign. And x is less than negative 5, so we go to the left because that's where the less than numbers are. So it's an open circle, so we use a parentheses. It starts at -5, and where it ends is negative infinity, because it keeps going to the less than side. Again, same thing, distribute. So we have this -1 out front, so -1 times 2x is -2x. -1 times -7, negative times a negative is a +7. Drop down our 3, less than or equal to, so we get 34 minus 6x. We have a couple things we can combine, this 3 and this 7. So 3 plus 7 is 10. Drop down your minus 2x. And everything else that you didn't use yet. You can make your line if that helps you as well. So now we're going to decide if we want to subtract or add 2x or add 6x. So if we add 6x to this side, it would make our x stay positive. So we're going to add 6x to both sides. And we get less than or equal to 34. These cancel out. -2 plus 6 is a +4x. Drop down your 10. Subtract 10 on both sides. And you get 4x is less than or equal to 24. Divide by 4. That 4 is positive, so the sign stays the same. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So this time we have an equal to underneath, which means our answer over here is going to have a bracket. So again, we're going to make 6 be like right here. So then this would be 5, 4, and then on the right side, 7, 8, 9, 10. So above 6, we're going to have a filled in circle because it has an equal to. And x is less than 6, so it's shaded to the left. So with interval notation, you use a bracket. 6 is the starting point, and it's going to the left, so that's negative infinity. Because it keeps going on forever and ever to the negative infinity side. Then for this one, solve and graph and write. So we're going to distribute our -3x into everything, or -3 into everything, giving you -3x. -3 times 6 is -18. Bring down your 5x, your greater than or equal to sign. 8 minus 1 times x minus 7, so that -1 has to distribute as well. So -1x, or just -x, is the same thing. And -1 times -7 is a +7. So a few things we can combine before we get going. We have 5x minus 3x, which is 2x minus 18. And 8 plus 7, which is 15, minus x. So we have to decide if we're going to add x or subtract 2x. If we add x, that would keep our x positive. So this cancels out, leaving you with -18 and 3x greater than or equal to +15. Then we add 18 to the other side so that we keep our numbers with our numbers. And this gives us 3x is greater than or equal to 33. Divide by 3. And you get x is greater than or equal to 11. So over here again, put your 11 down. This is 10, this is 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. Above 11, it's a filled in circle because we have an equal to as an answer. And this is x is greater than or equal to 11, so it's going to go to the right. So we start with 11 because it has a bracket, or a filled in circle, you make a bracket. And it's going to the right, which means it's positive infinity forever and ever and ever. And bracket at the end. Then this one, solve and graph, so we have distributing the -8 into the x, so you have -8x, -8 into the -1, giving us a +8, minus x less than or equal to -28. And so you have -8x minus x, which is -9x, plus 8 less than or equal to -28. So then we're going to decide if we want to switch this 8 over to the number side, so we have to subtract 8 on both sides, giving us -9x is less than or equal to -36. Then you divide by -9. And because we divided by a negative, we have to flip the sign. And -36 divided by a -9 cancels out the negative, making a +4. So we have a greater than or equal to, so I know we're going to have a bracket here. And it's a 4, so we'll put 4 here. and it's a filled-in circle because it's an equal to, and it says x is greater than or equal to 4, so we go to the right. So we're starting with 4, comma, and it goes on forever, so positive infinity.